in order to have an effective family, you needed to have a sense of value within your household first. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Lydia Show. I'm Dr. Lydia. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. So, last episode, we talked about Stephen Covey and his book with effective people and what it took to be successful and be an effective person. So here's the thing, like, those ideas were the first time I'd heard them. So after I'd heard them, I thought, let me see what else. And the next book that I'd read from him was How to Apply These Steps into Becoming an Effective Family. And again, I had told you guys previously, like, some of the whys the real why in me doing what it is that I do and what drives me on a daily basis is my kids, my family. And I think to myself, this is my purpose for being here. So everything that I did was for them. So I thought, I wonder what it is to be an effective, successful family, right? And so I started to figure out how to apply those 7 effective things that people do, how to apply to a family. So he had written this other book of 7 habits of a successful family or effective family, successful family. Mr. Covey, I apologize if I'm killing this, okay? But I loved the book. It literally changed my life. And again, I told you guys several times before, I was trying to find my way. I didn't know what to do, how to do anything. So every single thing that I came across, I tried to implement it, because what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. And if it worked, I would have been one step closer into where it is I wanted to be, which is an effective person to be able to leave some form of generational wealth. I had it in the back of my head, but I just didn't know how. Okay, so number 1, if you remembered from last episode, it was to what? Be proactive and have the I can do anything attitude. And I told you after I listened to that, I changed in my household the words that we said around the house, especially to the children. It's never about I can't do something or that it's hard. It's more of I'll try or it's challenging. And that worked wonders, because all of a sudden, everybody is trying to solve problems opposing to totally giving up. And even when we tried and we failed, we just figured that that was a way not to do it. And we continued to, okay, we can do anything. Pause, think. It says choose the best thing to do. I started to think logically, being reactive. So things that the children did that used to bother me. Okay, so one thing is that growing up in the islands, certain days you have to wake up and clean up everything. It was cleaning day, right? Laundry was on Sunday, and Friday evenings, if you go to church on Saturday, it was baking and cooking and certain principles, right? Certain things that were pet peeves is that you couldn't leave certain clothes and certain your shoes had to be taken off at the door. Just little things. And if for instance the children were to make a spill, it was a huge big deal. And that was a household that I was brought up in. And I'm sure most of you have similar examples of things that seem to be extremely tedious, but when you become now, it's like, really, was it really important? What was all that yelling and screaming? So what I did was, 1, I tried my best not to be reactive when it comes to stuff, right? Again, like I said before, I paused, I thought about it. Okay, when I was a child, what did I think was the best thing, or what would I have liked to happen, right? And I tried to approach it from that perspective. I know now that I've got a 3-year-old and I'm trying a different parenting style than I did with the other 3, because we were growing, and of course I was in a different stage of my life. Now, when he gets really upset, opposing to yelling at him and shutting him down like I would have normally done, or what would have taught to me, I really have him like, okay, blow in my hand, breathe. Do you feel better? Breathe, drink some water. Now talk to me. What's going on? And truthfully, that has been an effective way. He's 3 years old and he's able to communicate his feelings to me more than a lot of grown-ups. And so my goal into trying or learning different habits that effective families have done and effective people have done is to be able to try my best to leave a lot less childhood trauma on them. And so I thought it couldn't hurt to really try and implement any of this stuff, right? So that's what I did. It says your influence. So the things that I could control, that's what I focused on. And I told you that before with the serenity prayer, right? So my kids have their own area, your rooms. I am not going to sit here and beat my head against the wall about everything that you need, even though everything that you need to do within your room. It's your responsibility to be able to clean it properly and to do what's necessary to make sure you're comfortable there. The chores that I give them, I have certain responsibilities and so do you. And so I don't get upset or try to kill myself over, I don't know, I call them nonsense. And as I got older, I started understanding it was a quote that says, don't worry about little things, and all things are little things. And I was like, what? That's interesting. Because one of the big things is like 10 years from now, my reaction to anything when it came to the kids, right? Or the business, like 10 years from now, will this discussion matter? Will this outburst matter? Will this childhood trauma or whatever it is within this relationship? What is more important, the relationship or the argument? And if the relationship is more, yes. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I don't yell and scream. I do. Because in some other another book, it says that if you make a situation, dramatize a situation, then they're more likely to remember. Just like in order to deter certain habits, and you have to do certain things. So that's in a whole nother habit to its a whole nother segment to itself. But those are the things when it comes to habit one, where habit one, again, is to be proactive and not being reactive. Number two, what I did, begin with the end in mind. And this right here has been a life changer for me. I'm telling you. Okay. So I remember when I listened to this book, he started talking about values, family values, and what values are in your family. And I thought, growing up, we never discussed that. There wasn't a sense of belonging. I think to myself, there was a sense of belonging maybe to the church. There were things that we needed to do, I think, for the community. There was a sense of belonging to the school, but it wasn't a huge deal. I know that our name brought a lot of weight because anything that we needed, once we said our name, it really made a difference. But what I'm talking about is when I read this, I thought about the Army and how they have a mission statement and a business have a mission statement, a vision statement, and a value system. And I was like, wait, maybe that's what's missing. And I needed to do it. In thinking about the end in mind or the family on a whole. And what I did, I sat down. I'm going to share this with you. Wait. I sat down and I wrote us a mission statement. I'm going to read it to you. And in our house, here it is. This is absolutely life-changing. And once I wrote it, it was something that the children had to memorize, and they put their names in it. And it says, I, Dr. Lydia, promise to think, walk, speak, and act in passion, purpose, and faith, servicing others. Knowing I promise to protect and put each other and people first, because I am a kind, caring, and loving person of good character. I am helpful, honest, hardworking, trustworthy, and speak up for injustice. I am responsible and I control my emotions as well as my tongue. I am confident, disciplined, and determined. I think thoroughly, make decisions, accept consequences, and forgive. I communicate and understand the differences in others. I accept myself, knowing that I am a work in progress who needs to grow, who needs to constantly grow mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I give of myself so that I may lead and help others to use their gifts to fulfill their dreams. So once I wrote this, it was something that me thinking of the end goal in mind, where our family now stands for something, not just our name, where we're going, our mission, what it is that we were doing. And that meant a lot. And they had to memorize it. When I read it, we sat down and we discussed it, and then you will see as it goes on to the different habits, is that the things that we came up in there, it was a collective effort, because I wanted to build good, strong character within my children so that we could be impactful in the society and the community. So that's where I wrote the mission statement. But for you, it could be whatever it is that you want, where you could be honest, it could be nice and short. We love each other. We love God. We love ourselves. You know what I mean? We put each other first, whatever it is. This is just my sample, because I realized in order to have an effective family, you needed to have a sense of value within your household first before you take it out there to the community. And that's what I did. Number 3, it says put first things first. And of course, we talked about that before. But when it comes to the family, 1, develop a mission statement, but that's what we just talked about. Number 2, we schedule regular bonding time. Plan family meals. These are some of the examples. Create weekly rituals. You build our weekly time. You create rituals and different traditions. Now, when I was growing up, some of the traditions, Christmas was always a huge time for us. And we always got together, Christmas and Easter, because of course in Jamaica, those are like the big holidays. But I remember still now, all the things that we used to do. Now that we're in America, some of the holidays that are really important here are Christmas and Thanksgiving, really big. And what I try to do is, birthdays are always a big deal, because it's not just that day of celebration. It's just, to me, it's celebrating you and your moment. And also me, because really I gave birth to them, right? But let's not go there. But what I'm saying to that is that, and another thing that I did is that I told you before, where we limit our entertainment. So when we schedule, for instance, going to the movies maybe once a month, or sitting down to watch TV time, I made sure it was like a family effort. We create, and of course, I told you before, like when we cook, I put everybody, well, you will get the rice and peas today, you get the curry goat. Or if I'm doing potato salad, can you peel the potato? You put the pot of water on. Everybody a responsibility while we are doing the chores. So it's like a whole bonding moment. And of course, we all get to create this meal. We all get to eat it together. And what's the best, like, it's just the best feeling. So those are some of the things there that I use in, putting family first. And in everything that I do, I put my family first, because at the end of the day, I know when your life is over and you've done all the amazing things that you think is possible, at the end of the day, your family, like your kids, family is what really matters. And a lot of times it doesn't necessarily have to be blood family, but certain people hold that for you that should be cherished at all times. So don't think, well, I'm the only person, or maybe I'm an orphan. But there are certain people that hold family, and it doesn't have to be blood. So don't negate yourself and don't feel left out, because family comes in a lot of shape and form. And I remember learning that in school, and I thought, wow, Family's not just mom and dad and you never get divorced. Whatever shape life has brought it to you, that is how it's supposed to be for you. Those are the lessons that you should have to become who this earth needs or who God wants you to be. So don't ever be ashamed of that, right? Know where you are, know the so what stuff, and build from that. And that is really important. Another really important thing that I try to always do is to keep my promises. And I told you that before. It's like whether it is to pay a bill or simply say that I'm going to help with something. If I say it, my word is my bond and I am going to do it. Nothing will stand between that. It has to be the fact that I'm no longer here. But once I say it, I'm going to do it. So I am actually mindful about the promises that I keep or the promises that I make, because I keep all my promises. The other thing is do small acts of kindness. It was funny because the other day I had a conversation with my kids about sense of responsibility around the house and what it is that they think that they're supposed to be doing and being and helping each other and helping their friends and family, and because they're getting bigger, it's like, okay, do you think that you have a bigger sense of responsibility for these new people that are coming into your life, or the family that you have on a whole that's always been there for you? I mean, simple things like you don't have to wait for somebody to ask for your help. You do it just because. So those are some of the things. Be loyal. Again, whether you're upset or not, do what you're supposed to do. I may not like you at this moment, but because we're family, I am here for you. I am loyal to you, and I am going to do whatever it is that's best for you. Not myself, it's for you, because that's how you love. You're supposed to love unconditionally. Another thing is I try my best. And I'll be the first to tell you that none of these are a constant, I am that now. No, I am always a learning progress. And it says it here, it's like I'm always growing, I'm always learning. And something that's quite interesting is that because you've been taught a certain way for a certain amount of time, it's easy to revert back to the old habits, right? And when I revert back to the old habits, I am the first one to apologize. And I know like most parents don't like to apologize to their children, but I do it because I think to myself, one, I want to have better communication, better relationships with them. I don't want these unresolved issues to build to bigger issues overall. And again, I don't know where life is going to take you, but I also want to teach them when you do something wrong, you make it right and you ask for forgiveness. There's nothing wrong with that. So the last thing with the number 3 is you set clear expectation. And again, for me, I am a work in progress. I am trying to get better at this. And of course, I'm trying to be able to communicate a little bit better. But, I'm not always perfect. So a lot of times the kids will say to me, what it is that you truly want? Where are you? What is that you want? So that we'll be able to help you to resolve what it is. Sometimes I think that they're probably a little bit wiser, but that's only because I don't even know. I think, again, God has helped me to facilitate them so that I can learn to become who I'm meant to become too. So they're also a part of my lesson. And that's how I simply see it. Number 4, it says again, to think win-win. It says, you think everyone can win in your relationship. And that right there is absolutely true. Every single thing. Most people sit around and they think for them, they're like, okay, I'm very selfish. Everything is for me. Most men are probably like, listen, when you come home, you should take care of me. Most women are like, well, take care of me. If everybody's for themselves, who is really taking care of the family on a whole? But the question, what it should be is everybody pouring a little bit in taking care of the family and everybody wins. Instead of everybody taking selfishly. So that's how I think it's a better solution. It's that, and in using that, the everybody wins scenario is that a lot of times when we eat whatever anything that we do, I don't say that I'm the mom, that's it, that's final. That's not how I make decisions. And I told you that in previous episodes. I told you that I run a lot of decisions by my family, my children, my significant other, because I think to myself, and it's not just financial, simple things as for what's for dinner. I don't just go out and say, well, we're having chicken today. I'm like, okay, we have chicken, we may have goat, we may have seafood, we have fish. What would you like to eat? And for everybody, then they'll have a sense of their own personal power within the household. Because when I was growing up, it's like, you'll eat what I tell you, you'll eat what I put on the table, and a lot of times too, it was all they could afford, but that's how it was. You had to eat what was there. Or so we were going to go to an amusement park. Unless it's a surprise, I often ask them, where would you like to go? And if they had like different options, I'm like, okay, let's vote. And it's the same thing when it comes to dinner and a lot of the decisions that we make, because at the end of the day, one, everybody have a little bit of control. Everyone have a little bit of power or a little bit of say. It makes for them to be empowered to make better decisions in growing up. And that's what I'm trying to teach them. Number 5 is that you seek first to understand, then to be understood. Listen, and then you speak secondly. This I'm absolutely learning, and I told you before is because when I was brought up with an iron fist. Whatever I say, go, and that's final. But now what I try to do is I try to have an open door policy where we come in, we could talk about anything. No topic is off limit. Because if they're not comfortable in coming to speak to me, then they're going to try to find the answer someplace else. And that right there, it probably will be a greater issue. So I try to be the first person that we're able to talk and understand if it's something that they don't understand. What I try to do is to give them a different perspective. If their perspective is completely different from mine, I'm like, okay, well, have you thought of it this way? Did you think of the other side of the conversation or the outcome, or maybe the larger picture of what it is that's happening? So those are some of the things that I've done that has been really effective, or it seemed to be working. Habit number 6 is synergizing. It says you celebrate the differences and we try to work as a team. This right here, I thought was absolutely essential when we were I was helping them become the musician group. Everybody had their own task, and when they accomplished something or write a song or created a beat, oh my goodness, it was a party always. What I didn't do is, what I tried to do was to be open-minded with what it is or their artistic views. So what I didn't do was to shut them down. For instance, they said, well, what about having, say, a reggae song, right? At the time, they're like, well, no, we like pop. Or if I walked in and they were singing a song and I gave them a line and they shut my line out, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? That's not something to me worth fighting over. And for me, I also thought that was a really great thing because they were expressing themselves through their music, through their writing, through their art. So I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Do that again. Not just with the writing or the music. I even did it with when they were learning to dance. You know, when they move their body a certain way, I'm like, when you were growing up, they will probably tell you that, oh, well, strippers do this or this person do that. And I'm like, no, embrace who you are. Do that. Do you understand what I mean? Because there's a time and a place for everything. And you should be comfortable in your own skin. I didn't want them to be like, oh, I want to dance to a music or a beat or a song that comes on and felt like I couldn't. I didn't want to do that to them because that's how I felt. So I'm like, oh, whoa, you could do that? Like, I really can't do that. And that really has helped them as they've grown older in expressing themselves with their hair, who they are, what they want to do, has been effective. Extremely, extremely helpful. Number 7, and the last one, of course, is you sharpen the saw. It says you make time to care for yourself and your family. For me, this one is so important, is that I've made time consistently, not just that I make time in the kitchen. We exercise together. We make plans together, future plans, quarterly plans within the household. Remember I told you before, like, I run the house as if we're running a business, because really this is how it is. 1. 2, I don't give up on them, or just like how an employee within our company, like, we wouldn't give up on them. I treat my children the exact same way. It's like, okay, you don't get it yet. Maybe it's something that you need to learn. Let's learn it together. That's another way we develop our own skills, whether it's communication, it's a skill to continue to grow in their business, whatever it is. We make time to learn individually, because sometimes I share books with them and we come back like, hey, what did you learn from that book? What did it say that sparked something with you? What key points did you get from it? So together we're learning and we're growing, because at the end of the day, and not only that, we have time where we laugh, because they're always telling me about my mom jokes. We relax, self-care, because if I put on a face mask, I'm like, hey guys, let's all do it. If it's about, they have joke, hey mom, you want to hear a joke? I mean, a lot of times I don't get it. I think it's a generational gap, but I don't care. I want to hear it. I want to hear where their mind's at. I want to hear where they're going with stuff, and that's important. But essentially, all of this together in having an effective family, or implementing the habits of an effective person or effective people, is to, with one goal in mind, is to leave a legacy, to leave generational wealth. That's what it is that I want to do. And I think to myself, is that for a lot of times we think it's only monetarily that we can leave generational wealth. It is with the knowledge and information and what we pour in to our children and our community and our next generation. So again, leave a legacy to create generational wealth. So these are the lessons that I've learned, and that has helped me to improve my relationships with my children, because again, we're here to discuss money, financial freedom, and wealth. Wealth on a whole is not about only financial wealth. It's about your relationships and your family and the people that you choose to be around all the time. So I want to help you to have the best of both worlds, not just riches, not just money. You want to be overarchingly wealthy, and I want that for you. So thank you again for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. I appreciate you. I love you. I will continue to share great information with you, and I'll see you next time on the Dr. Lydia Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Mwah!